exciting! Hello everybody and welcome to the old live stream of my reaction to the Women's Prize for Fiction Longlist 2022. Very excited. Can't believe that I've managed to swerve it all day. I'm so excited. I've just realised it's paused on me there. Are we working? We're going. Turn the sound off there. I have covered the comments on my screen with this, neglecting that I've also got comments on my phone. David, have we got any post-it notes I could just put on there? Or maybe I could just do this. Only because, guys, and these will be whipped off as soon as I know the long list, I don't want anyone to say sort of in the comments, oh, isn't it great news that this is in? Am I going to be able to see through that? Oh, I want you to be able to see. There we go. That can come off shortly. I don't know if that's going to do it. I think it is going to do it. Hello, welcome. That's got it really zoomed in, hasn't it? How did I make that? There we go. Welcome to my long list announcement, the Women's Prize for Fiction 2022, the long list announcement, live reaction. I have managed to swerve this all day. Aren't I good? So it got announced at 9:30 this morning. I haven't been on any socials since 9:20, just in case there was some sort of leakages or anything like that. And I've avoided my email because I know I've got email. I'm part of I'm on the mailing list for a lot of independent bookshops, and I wondered if they'd email and say, maybe in the title, oh, this has been longlisted. I've only been on WhatsApp. I've said to David, David's not even interested, and I've said to him, don't tell me if you find out. Have you seen anything to do with the Women's Prize today, David?
No.
In my head, this is just everyone's going to be getting involved. So yeah, I've swerved the whole thing. So I'm feeling really excited. As I said, I've covered the comments just until I found out what the long list is, and then I'll release you all. I've just covered it with this here. I've just covered it with that and with some tape on there, and then we'll have a chat. So I just thought I'd go just to give everybody a chance to get here. There's 88 of you. That's so exciting that you're all so keen to find out my my thoughts on it. I just thought I'd go through what my thoughts were. So my predictions. So I've already done a video of this, but just to run through. Minnie's going absolutely wild in the background. Can you hear her? No, she's not doing it now. So I thought Love Marriage by Monica Ali. My Phantoms by Gwendolyn Riley. Don't have a copy of that. Fault Lines by Emily Atami. Don't have a copy of that. The Fell by Sarah Moss. Don't have a copy of that. Build Your House Around My Body by Violet Cooper-Smith. I'm going to stop saying that. I don't have a copy of that. Beautiful World, Where Are You? By Sally Rooney. This is a proof copy. To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. Oh, that almost went on my tea then. Again Rachel by Marion Keyes, which I'm listening to on audio at the moment. Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. Matrix by Lauren Groff. The School for Good Mothers by Jessamine Chan. Once We Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey. And Keisha the Sket by Jade LB. So, shall we find out what is on there? Well, shall I find out what's on there? I'm going on to it now. Women's Prize for Fiction. I'm so excited. I can't believe I've managed to swerve this all day. Right, the long list has been announced. Oh, I've seen that I've got one right because I've seen the spines. Let's go on here and we'll work our way down. I'm going to have to take my my little sensor off, and I'll just read out what they are first and then we can learn it together. So here we go. Oh my God, one that I've never heard of. Few that I've never heard of. Right, okay. Build Your House Around My Body by Violet Cooper-Smith. I got it right. I'm so excited about that, and I really enjoyed that as well. Careless by Kirsty Capes. Never heard of that. We'll learn that. I've got to write these all down as we go. So, Build Your House. I've already... Your House Around My body. This is going to be fun for you, isn't it? Just sitting here watching me write things down. By Violet Cooper-Smith. Then Careless by Kirsty Capes, which I've not heard of. I'm always so excited when there's things on there that I haven't heard of. Kirsty Capes. Then Creatures of Passage by Marowa Yadije. Not heard of that either. Creatures of Passage by Marowa Yadije. Flamingo by Rachel Elliott. I've not heard of that either. So far, that's 3 I've not heard of, and I really thought I was on top of like what was eligible this year. Can't wait to read what you all think. Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead, which is one that I predicted. So far, only 1 that I've read, and only 2 that I've heard of. Great, isn't it, when all of these exciting ones come through. Remote Sympathy, haven't heard of that either. I can't believe this. I thought, David, there's so many on here I've not heard of.
Good.
Are you proud of me that I didn't find it out all day? Do you know what as well, guys? I don't even like surprises. So I must have been really, really into it to find out. Another one that I've not heard of, Salt Lick by Lulu Allison. Oh my God, there are going to be some reservations going on at the library. Sorrow and Bliss I have heard of, but I haven't read. And I know it's quite well enjoyed. I also think that, oh my God, what's her name? It's such a shame that I can only remember her cousin's name. Amelia Fox. Amelia Fox does the narration for that. Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason, have heard of that. The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. I did wonder if that was going to be on there. I've put the Ruth. The Book of Form of Emptiness. I got that out from the library. We're going to go into what all of these are about shortly and find out some and find out if anybody here has read them, etc. Oh God, there's so many. The Bread the Devil Need. I've not heard of that one either. Oh my God, it's so exciting when there's so many that I've not heard of. So far, I've only got 2. And I thought this year was going to be my actual year. Like, I thought I was going to get loads of them this year. Lisa Allen Agostini. Number 11. The Exhibitionist by Charlotte Mendelsohn. I have heard from that. I believe I might have a copy of that coming from the publisher. That might be the I think it might be, or is that an Australian author? I don't know. Well, again, we're going to look into all of this. We're almost there with writing it all down. 12. The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Dawnie Walton. I have heard of that. I think, mate, I don't know if that was any. I don't know if I've heard of that because somebody mentioned it in what they think will be in the long list, but I have heard of that. Dawnie Walton. I see I've got the next one as well, but again, I'm only going to have read. Oh no, I've read one more. I've skipped a bit forward. Dawnie Walton. Then 13 is The Island of Missing Trees, which I did predict, but I haven't read it. Again, I've got a reservation at the library coming in for that. I don't own any of these either. The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley. Oh no, The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. I think that's the Australian one. The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. I've got a reservation on at that. I started listening to the audio of it and didn't get on with it. So I'm hoping that I'll get on a bit better with the actual book of it. But there's a reservation on at that as well. I can't believe I don't own any of these. So the only one, I don't own any. I don't own any of these. 15 is The Sentence. I was thinking, oh, great news, I can get cracking with some women's prize reading tonight, and I've got none of these. The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. And then lastly, which is one that I've also read, so I've read 2 on the list, and that's This One Sky Day. This One Sky Day by Leonie Ross. I've written This One Sky Leone. This One Sky Day by Leonie Ross. Right, okay, let me free you and you can chat. Let's have a look. Right, okay. You are released. So we've got 16 books here. Surprisingly to me, I've got, how many did I get right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I got 4 right. I've read 2. I liked 1. I didn't love This One Sky Day. I found it a bit bizarre. And I own none of them. I own none of these books. So I can't start reading any of them tonight. David, I don't own any of these. Isn't that madness?
Absolute mad.
So I've got a lot of reservations on at the library for a few of these. So for Great Circle, The Island of Missing Trees, The Paper Palace, The Sentence. So it might be looking like I'm gonna have a look on my my Libby app and put some reservations on some audiobooks on there. So let's have a look and see what people are saying. Betsy saying I've read The Sentence and Sorrow and Bliss, both are great. Cilio saying I own 1 and put 2 on hold, I'll have to purchase the rest. Amy owns Opal and Nev, but that's it, and I haven't read any of them. This list has me shocked. It's got me absolutely shocked. I mean, I never guess well anyway, but considering that I get sent quite a lot of proofs, and also I can't believe that To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara and Beautiful World, Where Are You by Sally Rooney aren't on there. I would have put money on those being on there. Like, I can't believe it. Charlie Book wants to read The Sentence. I think 4 right is really good based on other predictions I've seen. Oh, that's good. I've read 3. Sorrow and Bliss and Paper Palace were amazing. Opal and Ev was a bit like Daisy Jones, good on audio. Right, okay, I'll bear that in mind. Thank you, Chloe. Alice in the Giant Bookshelf, amazing name, says, I want to read the Sentence and Opal and Nev. Jem Lou says, my library doesn't have many. I own 6, so not too bad. Betsy says, I can't wait to see book club choices. So for our April book, we're going to be reading 2 of these books off the long list. Now, as I don't know much about any of them, we're gonna find out about them soon. I'm gonna start reading some blurbs out, and I'll pick 2 off of there, and there'll be a vote going up hopefully tonight on the Patreon feed. Teresa said, I haven't heard of any of them. Sarah says, I can't believe you don't own any. Seems like a really good list this year. Great variety. Joseph says, I don't know if it's because I'm in the US, but like a dozen of these aren't in my library system. Stephanie says, I haven't read any, but I've just started Sorrow and Bliss, and so far it's great. And Christine's saying the same in Canada. Not much available in the library. Joe LaFave says, yes, I was so surprised not to see Hanya Yanagihara, Sally Rooney and Lauren Groff. Yeah, the Lauren Groff as well. Jamie in Brooklyn said, The Sentence is one I'm most intrigued for, and lucky I managed to get first hold of it, so I should be able to collect on Thursday. Yeah, that's the thing as well. Like my library, I imagine a lot of the holds are gone, but I do already have holds on The Island of Missing Trees, The Paper Palace and Great Circle. So hopefully I can start reading those really soon. I just can't believe I don't own any of them. This is the first time that's happened, considering like I get sent quite a lot of stuff from like a lot of proofs and things that are coming out. Unbelievable. I think I might have The Sentence coming though. I think I've got The Sentence coming. Jellicle says, I'm currently listening to This One Sky Day and love it, but yes, it is odd. I also listened to it on audio and found it a bit odd. The Bread the Devil Needs sounds really good. Careless sounds interesting. The Island of Missing Trees was a brilliant one. Let's have a look. Right, okay, so let me go on to the Waterstones website, unless I click on it here. Should we do it this way? Oh, okay, so they've got blurbs on the Women's Prize, website. So let's stick to that, shall we? So we'll start with Build Your House. We'll go through it as they've announced it. Build Your House Around My Body is a book that I have read. It's by Violet Cooper Smith. I very much enjoyed it. I never want to see that message again. And it's about 2 young Vietnamese women who go missing decades apart. So it's set in 1986 and in 2011. I really liked it. For me, it was very much a book of 2 halves. It was very sort of, the first half was like, you're learning loads and loads about these characters, and like sometimes one character will sort of like be fleeting, and then they'll come back to have a really big part in the second half. The second half is just pure action. There's loads in there about snakes, about body swapping, about sort of body acrobatics, things that you can't really get your head around. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it a 4-star at the time, but on reflection, I think it's probably more of a 4.5. So I'm really excited to see that there. Has anybody read Build Your House Around My Body by Violet Cooper-Smith, and what did you think of it? But I'll read the blurb here just in case that wasn't enough. I'll read the blurb for all of them. 2 young Vietnamese women both go missing decades apart. She's already said that. Both are fearless, both are lost, and both will have their revenge. 1986, the teenage daughter of a wealthy Vietnamese family gets lost in an abandoned rubber plantation while fleeing her angry father and is forever changed by the experience. 2011, 25 years later, a young, unhappy Vietnamese American disappears from her new home in Saigon without a trace. The fates of both women are inescapably linked, bound together by past generations, by ghosts and ancestors, by the history of possessed bodies and possessed lands. Violet Cooper-Smith's heart-pounding fever dream of a novel hurtles through the ghostly secrets of Vietnamese history to create an immersive, playful, utterly unforgettable debut. So yeah, let's have a look and says, hi Marlene. Nobody said that they've read it. Is anybody pumped about this one? Is anybody excited about this one? Just before we move on to the blurb for Careless by Kirsty Capes. I can't believe I don't own any of them. I can't believe it. Alex says it sounds mega. Emma says, I haven't read it, sounds interesting. Amy says, yes, I want to read it. And Charlie started reading it this afternoon. Amazing. Oh, I loved doing this chat with you guys. Cool, okay, well, Sylvia, am I saying, how am I pronouncing your name? If you wouldn't mind writing it out phonetically, I just don't want to keep getting it wrong. Silua. I added it to my TBR before it came out. Lisa said, I also read Build Your House Around Your Body and loved it in the beginning, but then I got confused and it got a bit too weird for me, unfortunately. Rachel says, it's on my list, sounds great. Kate says, I don't think I've read a Vietnamese story, looking forward to it. Jellicle says, I can't wait for my hold to come for Build Your House. Lovely, lovely. Right, okay, well, let's move on to the next one then. Oh, there was one more. Siliwa, thank you, Siliwa. Right, okay, I thought I'd click that to say never see that message again. Right, Careless by Kirsty Capes. Never heard of this, looking at the front cover, don't recognise it. It has a quote from Pandora Sykes on the front, who was a judge this year. Astounding, heartbreaking, but hopeful. Says, sometimes it's easy to fall between the cracks. At 3:04 p.m. on a hot, sticky day in June, Bess finds out she's pregnant. She could tell her social worker Henry, but he's useless. She should tell her foster mother Lisa, but she won't understand. She really ought to tell Boy, but she hasn't spoken to him in weeks. Bess knows more than anyone that love doesn't come without conditions. But this isn't a love story. And that's published by Orion. Has anyone read Careless or even heard of Careless by Kirsty Capes? Haven't read it, haven't even heard of it. Yeah, sounds interesting. Sounds a bit sort of Nick Hornby to quote to sort of mention a male author in the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. But let's have a look. I am interested in that one. Oh, there's some nice people here. Okay, never heard of it, says Sarah. I got the ARC, it was sent a few months ago, nice. And Emma says, no, I haven't, Sillywell says, I hadn't heard of it before the long list, I want to read it. Christine says, I've heard of it, it leans towards young adult. Yeah, I was going to say it reads a bit sort of young adulty, the bullet point style nature of the blurb. Amanda says, I'm very excited to read that one. Laura says, Careless, one of my favourite books of last year, amazing. Charlie said, never heard of it, requested it from the library. Lovely stuff, that's what I'll be doing shortly. Right, okay, shall we move on to... Alice in the Giant Bookshelf says, haven't heard of it, but it sounds interesting. Right, okay, let's have a look at Creatures of Passage then, which is the next one. By Marowa Yejide. Lovely front cover. It says, Nephthys Kinwell is a taxi driver of sorts in Washington, D.C., ferrying ill-fated passengers in a haunted car. A 1967 Plymouth Belvedere with a ghost in the trunk. Endless rides and alcohol help her manage her grief over the death of her twin brother, Osiris, who was murdered and dumped in the Anacostia River. Unknown to Nephthys, when the novel opens in 1977, her estranged great-nephew, 10-year-old Dash, is finding himself drawn to the banks of that very same river. It is there that Dash, reeling from having witnessed an act of molestation at his school, but still questioning what and who he saw, has charmed conversations with a mysterious figure he calls the Riverman, who somehow appears each time he goes there. When Dash arrives unexpectedly at Nephis' door one day, bearing a cryptic note about his unusual conversations with the Riverman, Nephis must face both the family she abandoned and what frightens her most when she looks in the mirror. Creatures of Passage beautifully threads together the story of Nephis, Dash, and others both living and dead. Maroa Yajide's deeply captivating novel shows us an unseen Washington filled with otherworldly landscapes, flawed superhumans and reluctant ghosts, and brings together a community intent on saving one young boy in order to reclaim themselves. Wow, that sounds like a fucking film. That sounds amazing. Let's have a look. So, let's have a look. Jellicle says, you had me at Haunted Taxi. Pauline said, never heard most of the books, but I'm already in the library website to see what I can find in the US. Lots of ghost themes this year. I'm excited for those, says Jamie in Bookland. Yeah, me too, actually. I don't read much ghosty books, but that sounds really exciting. Alex says, creatures sounds bonkers. Haunted Taxi, yes, please. Jem Lou says, I don't think it's my kind of book. I'll probably skip this one. Cool. Kate says, this sounds amazing. Amanda says, wow, this one sounds so epic. Sillywell says, creatures sounds mind-bending in all the best ways. Alice in the Giant Bookshelf says, I wasn't keen, but I'm sold on a Haunted Taxi. And Rachie T says, wow, what a lot going on in that book. Yeah, I think so too. Wow, so that's the third one. Okay, this is another one I haven't heard of. This is Flamingo by Rachel Elliott, which I also haven't heard of. Front cover, very sort of maybe romance, I don't know. It's got a quote from Sarah Winman on the front saying, a beguiling and astute storyteller. So it says here, this is the blurb for Flamingo by Rachel Elliott. First, there were the Flamingos, and then there were two families, Sherry and Leslie and their daughters Ray and Pauline, and Eve and her son Daniel. Sherry loves her husband Leslie. She also loves Eve. It couldn't have been a happier summer, but then Eve left and everything went grey. Now Daniel is all grown up and broken, and when he turns up at Sherry's door, it's almost as if they've all come home again. But there's still one missing. Where is Eve, and what exactly is her story? Flamingo is a novel about the power of love, welcome and acceptance. It's a celebration of kindness, of tenderness. Set in 2018 and the 80s, it's a song for the broken-hearted and the big-hearted, and is ultimately a novel grown from gratitude and a book full of wild hope. Wow, that sounds like, well, I'm pleased to see that, but it sounds sort of like very women's contemporary fiction-y, which is sort of almost unseen on these lists, so that's exciting that if that is what that is, based on the look of the cover and the blurb, I would say maybe that's women's contemporary fiction, but that'll be interesting. Emma says not 100%, but we'll give it a go. I don't know if that was for Creatures of Passage or if that was for Flamingo. Who has read Flamingo? Anybody here read Flamingo? Anybody here heard of Flamingo? Will be interested to see. I realise I've got a lot of space, that's where I'm sort of slumped in my chair. Has anybody read it? I hadn't even heard of it, but interesting to find out if anybody else has. Anybody here heard of it? Anybody even read it? Anybody keen to read it? Anybody excited about it? Jem Lou says not heard of it. Amanda says, I haven't heard of it and it seems okay. Yeah, I'd maybe say okay as well. That's how I feel. The Art of Being Mum says, sounds fantastic and uplifting. Also, where do you get your glasses? I love them. These are from Vision Express from Tesco's. Amy S says, never heard of it. Charlie Book says, not heard but requested it. Kaylee said, not heard of it before. Yeah, I think this is going to be one that I haven't heard of. Homegrown Education. Hi, so excited by the long list. I've only read this one, Sky Day. Managed to reserve 14 at your library. Well done. Sillywell hadn't heard of it either. Right, okay, we're just talking about Flamingo by Rachel Elliott and who had heard of it and who hadn't. I hadn't heard of it. Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead, which is one that I had heard of and I did have on my predictions. I actually got this came out from I got this from the library, didn't get time to read it, had to send it back, but put a reservation on it straight away just because I was so certain it was going to be on there. It's also shortlisted for the Man Booker, for the Booker, not the Man Booker, the Booker. So The Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. From her days as a wild child in Prohibition America to the glitz and To the blitz and glitz of wartime London, from the rugged shores of New Zealand to a lonely ice shelf in Antarctica, Marion Graves is driven by a need for freedom and danger. Determined to live an independent life, she resists the pull of her childhood sweetheart and burns her way through a suite of glamorous lovers. But it is an obsession with flight that consumes her most. Now, as she is about to fulfil her greatest ambition, to circumnavigate the globe from pole to pole, Marion crash lands in a perilous wilderness of ice. Over half a century later, troubled film star Hadley Baxter is drawn inexorably to play the enigmatic pilot on screen. It is a role that will lead her to an unexpected discovery, throwing fresh and spellbinding light on the story of the unknowable Marion Graves. So there we go. And I have... I remember reading about that before. That sounds sort of like quite plain bad heroine-y to me. That's a book which is set in 2 time periods and has film stars playing a real story that happened in the past. So yeah, that's where that got that from me. But yeah, it sounds exciting, doesn't it? So I'm excited about reading that. Christine Crave's book says it's probably the one I'm least interested in, but open to. I think we're talking about the flamingo there. Amanda's saying, I hope that's not shortlisted because I choose to focus on that much more. I think that's about Flamingo as well. So M1 says, Great Circle is fab. My favourite book of the year so far. The Art of Being Mum says, really want to read this one. Charlie Brooks says, Great Circle was one of my faves from last year. Jem Lou says, I've seen Great Circle everywhere and it's near the top of my TBR. It was literally on everybody's prediction videos as well. Ainara says the Great Circle was longlisted for the Booker Prize last year, wasn't it? Yeah, I think it's been. I think it ended up getting shortlisted. Well, at the top of that book, the front cover, it said shortlisted for. Alex Stanbury says, "Oh, I can't wait to read the Great Circle. I've been hanging on to it until the long list was announced. Not sure where I'll find the time to read all these pages. I know there's so many." And the Great Circle is a big chunky one as well. Emmy B says, "If it makes you feel better, I'm from Croatia and the only books I can get right now are a few audiobooks. I've ordered 3 from the Book Depository and they'll be here in 19 to 24 days." But how excited will you be when they arrive, Emmy? Jamie says, "I have the audio for this one, but at 25 hours. I said it was a chunker, didn't I? It's a long one. I'm excited to get started on it. Kate V says, the Great Circle has been on my TBR for a bit. I really need to read it. Fern says, Great Circle was my favourite book of last year. Amazing. Amanda says, that one sounds pretty good. I hope I like the writing style. Jessica says, got it from the library the other day. Fantastic book. Absolutely loving it. Care so much for all of the characters. Oh my God, that sounds excited. That sounds very exciting. Okay, let's move on to, so that's one that a lot of people have heard of and a lot of people I think were expecting to see it there, and it sounds like everybody really enjoyed it. The next one I've got is another one I hadn't heard of, Remote Sympathy by Catherine Chidgey. Front cover with a woman sort of in darkness but looking out of maybe like an orangery type door onto a garden. Looks nice. It says here, moving away from their lovely apartment in Munich isn't nearly as wrenching an experience for Frau Greta Hahn as she had feared. Their new home is even lovelier than the one they left behind, and life in Birchenwald would appear to be idyllic. Lying just beyond the forest that surrounds them is the looming presence of a work camp. Frau Hahn's husband, SS, I don't know what that stands for, Sturmbannführer Dietrich Hahn, has been assigned as the camp's administrator. When Frau Hahn's poor health leads her into an unlikely and poignant friendship with one of Buchenwald's prisoners, Dr. Leonard Weber, her naive ignorance about what is going on so nearby is challenged. A decade earlier, Dr. Weber had invented a machine believed that its subtle resonances might cure cancer, but does it really work? One way or another, it might save a life. A tour de force about the evils of obliviousness, Remote Sympathy compels us to question our continuing and willful ability to look the other way in a world that is enthralled to the idea that everything, even facts and morals, is relative. And that is published by Europa. And I thought Europa only published translated fiction, so I was obviously wrong, because it can't, in order for it to qualify for the Women's Prize, it can't be translated. It needs to have been written in English first. So yeah, that sounds sort of very, well, obviously war. There's a lot of war in there. What else we got? Everyone else is making me more excited for it. Oh, about Great Circle. Got it from the library the other day. Fantastic book. Absolutely loving it. Care so much for all the characters. I've already read that, but I read it twice because it's such a good comment. So yeah, Remote Sympathy by Catherine Chidgey. Not sure if anybody's read that. Has anybody? I hadn't heard of it. Has anybody read it? Has anyone heard of it? So read, write, create with Katia, saying, from the long list I've only read The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak and have to agree it was great. Looking forward to reading the others. Amanda says it's about World War II. Jem says Simon said the same about the publisher. I've watched nothing to do with anything today, so I've got a lot of catching up on sort of like Women's Prize content. Yeah, I thought it was translated only. So there we go. Emma said, this sounds quite depressing to me. Yeah, it does sound a bit sort of sad, doesn't it? Charlie said, this was the hardest to get hold of for me, but I bought it today. Yeah, after this, I'm going to be going onto my library, onto my Libby, seeing if I can get any audiobooks. And what I can't get, I'll probably buy. As you might know, I'm on a bit of a low spend year this year, so this might end up being this might end up being my April spends happening in March. Amanda is agreeing with Emma, saying, when Emma has said it sounds a bit depressing. Yeah, so there we go. That is Remote Sympathy by Catherine Chijay. Then we've got, guess what, guys? Another one I haven't heard of, and that's Salt Lick by Lulu Allison. Oh, love the front cover. Oh, absolutely love this front cover. So it's a front cover. Oh, this isn't what I was expecting the front cover to look like at all. It's the front cover, and it's almost done like sort of like lino screen printing, and it's got some cattle on the top of a hill with I think that's a man and a dog in the background, and then Lulu Allison's name, who is the author of the book, has a star on one side and a moon on the other. It's a really, really nice front book cover. So, Salt Lick by Lulu Allison. Britain is awash. The sea creeps into the land. Brambles and forests swamp derelict town. Food production has moved overseas and people are forced to move to the cities for work. The countryside is empty. A chorus, the herd voice of feral cows, wander this newly wild land, watching over changing times, speaking with love and exasperation. Jesse and his puppy, Mr. Malix, that's cute, roam the woods until his family are forced to leave for London. Lee runs from the terrible restrictions of the White Town where he grew up. Oh, I never know how to say this name. Isolde leaves London on foot, walking the abandoned A12 in search of the truth about her mother. And that is published by Unbound. That sounds to me like a climate change novel. I haven't read it. I hadn't heard of it. Love the front cover. Had anybody read or heard of Salt Lick by Lulu Allison? Is anybody excited about this? Emma's saying, if anyone's library has Borrow Box, there are quite a few on there. Homegrown Education said, never heard of Remote Sympathy and Salt Lick. Both of my libraries didn't have either books. Bell's Book saying my Borrow Box didn't have any. So yeah, it looks as though there might be a few tougher things to get hold of. And some of these might not even have been published yet. The publishing date runs until the 31st of March. That is a cold cup of tea. Kate says, Salt Lick sounds really interesting. I'm feeling drawn to climate fiction at the moment. Amy S says, Salt Lick sounds right up my street. Trying to read more climate change fiction this year. Never heard of it, though. Never heard of it either. Charlie says, this one sounds very unique, but I would like to try it. Alice in the Giant Bookshelf said, no, but I love the sound of Salt Lick. Stephanie says, never heard of Salt Lick, but I'm excited to read it now. Amanda's saying, I would try Salt Lick. Emma said, I've heard that some of this book is told from the point of view of cows. Moo, that's exciting. Silly Well says, there are so many on the list I haven't heard of, which is exciting. I definitely hadn't heard of Salt Lick. Yeah, really exciting. Right, okay, the next one, which is one that I had heard of, and I imagine, oh God, I've gone off of my thing. I've gone off of my quote. I've got to come back in. I've exited the wrong thing. Can we get back up there? Amanda says, how many pages is it? I don't know, because I can only see what information's being given to me on the Women's Pride's long list. So it's only got a blurb and a picture of the front cover. So I don't know if it's big or small. But if anybody else knows, then do please share it with us. Oh, it's 372. Oh, and Charlie Brooks saying Salt Lick is 320 pages. We'll never know. Okay. Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. Everyone tells Martha Friel she's clever and beautiful, a brilliant writer who has been loved every day of her adult life by one man, her husband Patrick. A gift, her mother once said, not everybody gets. So why is everything broken? Why is Martha on the edge of 40, friendless, practically jobless, and so often sad? And why did Patrick decide to leave? Maybe she's just too sensitive, someone who finds it harder to be alive than most people. Or maybe, as she has long believed, there is something wrong with her, something that broke when a little bomb went off in her brain at 17 and left her changed in a way that no doctor or therapist has ever been able to explain. Forced to return to her childhood home to live with her dysfunctional bohemian parents, but without the hope of her devoted foul-mouthed sister Ingrid, Martha has one last chance to find out whether life is ever too broken to fix, or whether maybe, by starting over, she will get to write a better ending for herself. So there we go. That is Sorrow and Bliss. That's number 8 by Meg Mason. I've got here people saying, I'll give Salt Lick a try, but I hadn't heard of it, and hearing the point of view of the cows, I'm even more interested. My face isn't loading up on there. Charlie, now I've lost all the comments. I'm back. I wrote them all down earlier, says Charlie. Alexandra said there are some chunky books this year. Joey says Salt Lick only has 12 reviews on Goodreads. Very almost unheard of. Amanda says, oh my gosh, I love this. This reminds me of Queenie. So that must be about Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. Has anybody else read Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason? If you enjoyed Sorrow and Bliss, I adored Sorrow and Bliss. If you love Sunset, I think you'll enjoy it. I really liked Sunset by Jessie Cave. That was one of my favourite books of last year. I don't know why I'm all the way there. I want to come up here. It started me from the beginning. Never mind. Okay, right. So that was Sorrow and Bliss. Then we've got The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki, which I have heard of. Wrong Geometry saying really love Sorrow and Bliss. I got this out from the library, the Book of Form and Emptiness, and then didn't get a chance to read it and sent it back, but I've got another reservation on it. I read Sorrow and Bliss, but I didn't love it. Would give it a reread though, says Charlie Brooke. Right, okay, so this is the Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. After the tragic death of his father, 14-year-old Benny O begins to hear voices. The voices belong to the things in his house and sound variously pleasant, angry, or sad. Then his mother develops a hoarding problem and the voices grow more clamorous. When ignoring them doesn't work, Benny seeks refuge in the silence of a large public library. There he meets a mesmerising street artist with a smug pet ferret, a homeless philosopher poet who encourages him to find his own voice among the many, and his very own book who narrates Benny's life and teaches him to listen to the things that truly matter. Blending unforgettable characters with everything from jazz to climate change to our attachment on material possessions, this is classic Ruth Ozeki, bold, humane and heartbreaking, published by Canongate. So there we go. More love for Sorrow and Bliss here, saying Jennifer Johnson saying, I love Sorrow and Bliss, it had Fleabag vibes. Oh, that sold me. So Alexa, turn on Big Lamp. Sorry, everyone. Alexa, turn on Dinosaur Lamp. That's better, we can see me. Right, okay, so that was The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. I believe they're sort of like household objects, sort of inanimate objects taking on voices and things like that. I have tried to read the very famous A Tale for the Time Being by Ruth Ozeki, knowing it's one of Mercedes' favourite books, and never finished it. Never finished it. Amanda saying, I love this one too. Yes, so many boxes ticked off. Jellicle saying, yes, to Form and Emptiness. Looking forward to that. Kate says, I've read the Book of Form and Emptiness. It was okay. I really liked the characters, but it seemed unnecessarily slow and long. Or long and slow as she's written. When I got this out from the library, this is also a chunky one as well. Doesn't seem to be any small ones there. There was a picture of them. I wonder if I can tell by the picture of them which of these are short. No, none of them look short. Literally, none of them look short. The Bread the Devil Needs, that might be that's only because it's a paperback, but all of them are long. All of them. Okay, so next up we've got The Bread the Devil Need, as I've just mentioned actually, by Lisa Allen Agostini. Oh, I love that front cover. Any more about so Kaylee saying, love the Book of Form and Emptiness. Charlie Brooks saying, I downloaded up the audio book of this one, and Alexandra C says there are 3 over 500 pages. Yeah, when I go back to the picture, I'll have a look and see if I can guess which ones are over 500 pages. So this is The Bread the Devil Need by Lisa Alla Agostini, published by Myriad Editions. Beautiful front cover as well. A nice piece of artwork with a woman here, very long neck, beautiful lips and big headscarf in. It says, Alethea Lopez is about to turn 40. Fashionable, feisty and fiercely independent, she manages a downtown boutique, but behind closed doors she's covering up bruises from her abusive partner and seeking solace in an affair with her boss. When she witnesses a woman murdered by a jealous lover, the reality of her own future comes a little too close to home. Bringing us her truth in an arresting, unsparing Trinidadian voice, Alethea unravels memories repressed since childhood and begins to understand the person she has become. Her next step is to decide the woman she wants to be. Now that sounds very excited. That has got me as excited as I felt about Creatures of Passage and Great Circle. That sounds great. Has anybody read The Bread the Devil Need by Lisa Allen Agostini? Interested to hear if anybody has read that one. Lots of people saying about the long books. Long Tall Fran saying, everyone had plenty of time to write in 2021. Amanda saying, I need to read faster. Wrong Geometry says, I'm excited by there being books I've never heard of. Nervous for my bank account though. Yeah, mine too. And Amanda saying, true, lots of writing time. Jim Lou says, The Bread the Devil Need is 209 pages and cheap on Kindle, as someone has said already. That's it's probably the shortest one on there. Amanda's also excited for this one. Leanne says, I'm so excited for The Bread the Devil Needs. Sounds so good. That's so exciting. I'm just having a look at the picture of them to work out. So this one, Sky Day, I think is over 500 pages. The Ruth Ozeki, And Remote Sympathy looks massive as well. Remote Sympathy was the one that we said might be a bit sad, and that looks fucking massive. Right, okay. Let's have a look and see if anybody else says anything more about The Bread the Devil Need. Kate says, The Bread the Devil Need, it's a fantastic title. This one sounds good, but like it will be a hard read. Yeah, I think it'll be a hard read too. Right, okay, let's move on to the next one then, which is The Exhibitionist by Charlotte Mendelsohn. Yeah, I'm certain this is coming to me in the post. We'll have to have a look. I'll see if it arrives. Meet the Hanrahan family, gathering for a momentous weekend as famous artist and notorious egoist Ray Hanrahan prepares for a new exhibition of his art, the first in many decades, and one he is sure he will burnish his reputation for good. His 3 children will be there. Beautiful Leah, always her father's biggest champion, sensitive Patrick, who has finally decided to strike out on his own, and insecure Jess, the youngest, who has her own momentous decision to make. And what of Lucia, Ray's steadfast and selfless wife? She is an artist too, but has always put on her roles as wife and mother first. What will happen if she decides to change? For Lucia is hiding secrets of her own, and as the weekend unfolds and the exhibition approaches, she must finally make a choice. And that is published by Pam Macmillan. And it sounds exciting. It's got a quote from fucking Sarah Waters on the front, so that's made me excited. Furious, dark and delicious. Also a quote by fellow nominee Meg Mason saying, I adored it. The front cover is gorgeous. It's a house and it's got flowers and fruit and stuff growing out of it. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And then there's a snake coming out the front door. I've definitely got this coming in the post to me, so maybe that'll be one that I start straight away. Also, sounds Irish, doesn't it? Is Charlotte Mendelsohn Irish? We can find out. Doesn't say anything about her when I click that. We'll find out at a later date. But yeah, that sounds amazing. So The Exhibitionist by Charlotte Mendelsohn. Has anybody read that, and how do they feel? Rachel H says, Build Your House Around Your Body is only $1.99 on Kindle at the moment. I love how we're all sort of sharing where we're going to get all these from. Jamie says, yeah, I also got Bread on Kindle when I saw price seems sold out in paperback in a few places too. Charlotte says, I'm excited to read Build Your House Around My Body, and I got it for $1.99 on Kindle. Amanda says, I've heard of this one but brushed it off. We'll look more into it now. Emma says, I really like the sound of this one, and if Sarah Waters approves, then it can't be bad. Exactly. That's got me pumped as well. So that's on my excited list. I'm going to do little dots next to the ones I'm very, very excited about. That one, Great Circle, The Bread the Devil Need, and The Exhibitionist. So far, 4 very, very excited about those. And Emma says Salt Lick was quite cheap on Kindle as well. There we go. Right, okay, let's move on to the next one then. And that's the final revival of Opal and Nev. Now, I have heard of this one, and when I see the front cover, yeah, I might be getting sent this one as well. This might be on its way as well, but this is by Dawny Walton. Opal is a fiercely independent young woman pushing against the grain in her style and attitude, a black punk artist before her time. Despite her unconventional looks, Opal believes she can be a star. So when the aspiring British singer-songwriter Neville Charles discovers her one night, she takes him up on his offer to make rock music together. In early centuries New York City, just as she's finding her niche as part of a flamboyant and funky creative scene, a rival band signed up to her label brandishes a Confederate flag at a promotional concert. Opal's bold protests and the violence that ensues set off a chain of events that will not only change the lives of those she loves, but also be a deadly reminder that repercussions are always harsher for women, especially black women who dare to speak their truth. That sounds amazing too, and that sounds a bit... maybe somebody said this earlier, or was it about another one where they said it's a bit like... oh, fucking hell, what's that book called? Daisy Jones and the Six. Is it a bit like that? Has anybody read... well, no, I know people have read Opal, the final revival of Opal and Nev. People saying that they enjoyed that. Charlotte Malloy says, I've heard of Careless, but I'm put off by the fact it's YA. Oh, it is actually YA, Charlotte. We didn't know if it was just sort of YA leaning. Alexandra says, Final Revival was the book of the month pick. Amazing. Emma says, I can't remember if someone has already said this, but this one is supposed to be great on audiobook. Sorry if I'm repeating. Never apologise. There'll be people here that weren't here at the beginning, so just keep on repeating. I repeat myself all the time. Jem Lou says, Opal and Nev is the first one I'm going to read. Amanda says, this sounds very powerful. Long Tall Fran says, I wonder if we'll have a repeat of the Mermaid of the Black Conch situations for the books from indie publishers, as in they're from indie publishers and then bigger publishers take them on and sort of publish their backlog. Is that the sort of thing you meant? But yeah, that's the final revival of Opal and Nev. Has anybody else read that? And oh, so Chloe saying, yes, it is like Daisy Jones. A journalist interviews all the characters. That sounds interesting, and that really sounds like something that probably will be good on audio. I'll have to have a look. Oh, I'm so excited. Right, okay, so we've got The Island of Missing Trees next by Elif Shafak. This was one that I predicted would be on this list, and I've got this another one that came out from the library, didn't get to read it, sent it back, and it's got another reservation on it. Oh, now I'm saying maybe it's even here. No, I don't think it is here. I thought it arrived already. So it says here, so the island of missing trees, this is the blurb. It's 1974 on the island of Cyprus. Two teenagers from opposite sides of a divided land meet at a tavern in the city they both call home. The tavern is the only place that Kostas, who is Greek and Christian, and Daphne, who is Turkish and Muslim, can meet in secret, hidden beneath the blackened beams which hang garlands of garlic, chili peppers and wild herbs. This is where one can find the best food in town, the best music, the best wine. But there is something else to the place. It makes one forget, even if just for a few hours, the world outside and its immoderate sorrows. In the centre of the tavern, growing through a cavity in the roof, is a fig tree. This tree will witness their hushed, happy meetings, their silent, surreptitious departures, and the tree will be there when the war breaks out, when the capital is reduced to rubble, when the teenagers vanish and break apart. Decades later, in North London, 16-year-old Ada Kazantzakis has never visited the island where her parents were born. Desperate for answers, she seeks to untangle years of secrets, separation and silence. The only connection she has to the land of her ancestors is a ficus carica growing in the back garden of their home. That sounds great as well. I remember when I was talking about that saying that there's a lot of sort of food writing in there and stuff, which I'm really into. And it's a love story, and it sounds really, really good. I'm looking forward to that. Emma's saying, I think one of the books was crowdfunded. I can't remember which one. Jamie's saying, because we were talking about Opal and Nev being like Daisy Jones in the Six, and Jamie says, oh my God, I'm so hyped for it now. And Chloe thinks Salt Lick was the book that was crowdfunded. And again, Chloe championing the audiobook as there's a full cast narration. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get that one on audio. This sounds amazing. Jellicle says, I'm all for food writing. This is about the Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. Long Tall Fran says, I thought there was a shortage of physical copies of Mermaid after it was announced that it was nominated for the Costa. Could be wrong though. Maybe you are right. I don't know about that, Long Tall Fran, but potentially Costa and Women's Prize. Kate says, I cannot wait for the Island of Missing Trees. I'm currently 8 weeks out on my library hold. Alex Stanbury says, I know it's a bit controversial, but I didn't enjoy the Island of Missing Trees despite being so excited about it. That's fine, Alex. We can't like all the things all the time, can we? Pauline Burdett says, I'm very excited about this one, the Island of Missing Trees. Very, very excited. Okay, so we're into the final three now. So the next one is also one that I'd heard of. And like I said, I got it out on my Libby app and started listening to it and didn't love it. But maybe I'll go back to it if I can't. I've got a reservation on a physical copy of this, so maybe I'll enjoy this a bit more. But that's The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. And it says here, this is published by Penguin, it says, on a perfect August morning, Elle Bishop heads out for a swim in the pond below the Paper Palace, her family's holiday home in Cape Cod. As she dives beneath the water, she relives the passionate encounter she had the night before against the side of the house that knows all her darkest secrets, while her husband and mother chatted to their guests inside. So begins a story that unfolds over 24 hours and 50 years, as Elle's shocking betrayal leads her to a life-changing decision and an ending you won't be able to stop thinking about. Oh, anybody read it without any spoilers about the ending? Have you been able to stop thinking about the ending? That is The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. Had heard of that and had seen it on a few people's predictions that was on there as well. So people who've read The Paper Palace, have you enjoyed it? Or people, are you excited for The Paper Palace? Paper Palace, Paper Palace. And yeah, it says an ending that you'll never be able to forget about. So as anybody can confirm. Fern says, I love that we have a book partly narrated by cows and another book partly narrated by a tree on the list. Yeah, I think so too. Jessica said, I had to pause to go on a work call, so I'm a bit behind, but loving the sound of Salt Lick and Creatures of Passage. I like the fact there seem to be a few speculative fiction books on the list. Absolutely, Jessica. You'll be at this in about half hour, Jessica, so nice to see you. Amanda says, that sounds so good. Charlotte Malloy says, I've got Paper Palace on reservation too on Borrow Box. Just getting the next one ready. The next one is The Sentence by Louise Erdrich, and and this is the front cover's a bit sort of underwhelming actually. It's like blue, maybe books, maybe. Louise Erdrich's latest novel, The Sentence, asks what we owe to the living, the dead, to the reader and to the book. A small independent bookstore in Minneapolis is haunted from November 2019 to November 2020 by the store's most annoying customer. Flora dies on All Souls Day, but she simply won't leave the store. Tookie, who has landed a job selling books after years of incarceration that she survived by reading with murderous attention, must solve the mystery of this haunting while at the same time trying to understand all that occurs in Minneapolis during a year of grief, astonishment, isolation and furious reckoning. The sentence begins on All Souls Day 2019 and ends on All Souls Day 2020. It is a mysterious and its mystery and proliferating ghost stories during this 1 year propel a narrative as rich, emotional and profound as anything Louise Erdrich has written. And that is published by Little Brown. Charlotte says Paper Palace is probably the one I'm most looking forward to. Kate says the Paper Palace sounds interesting, but I'd like to hear more people's thoughts on it before I check it out. Wrong Geometry says I'm excited for the sentence. Chloe says the Paper Palace was one of the best novels I read last year. Oh, I'm so thrilled to hear that. Jessica says I'm going through a breakup right now, so Sorrow and Bliss might be a bit too close to home. Oh, it may well be. Sophie says I've read the Paper Palace, really good, but major trigger warnings. Thank you, Sophie. May Westman says returned the audiobook for Paper Palace early yesterday. Really not my cup of tea. I felt the same, May. But yeah, as I said, I'm hoping to get on a bit better with the physical copy. Charlotte says Grace from GK Reads gave Paper Palace the thumbs up, so that's a good indication for me personally that I'm going to enjoy it. Emma says I'm not normally into ghosty books, but I like the sound of this. Yeah, it sounds sort of like almost a bit comic, doesn't it? Alex said the sentence sounds so good. Crap cover though. Yeah, I think so. Can't wait for it to arrive. The US cover of the sentence is better. The sentence was really good, though I was hoping for the ghost elements to be more prominent or speculative. Amanda says I'm very excited for this one. Too much. Emma says the US cover of the sentence is so much nicer. Well, you've tempted me. US cover of the sentence. Let's have a look. Can't find it. I'll type in Louise Erdrich. Oh yeah, that's much nicer. Much nicer. I'm pleased the sentence got nominated. Looking forward to reading it, says Long Tall Fran. Jessica says, I always love Rufa Zeki's covers. Emma says, it's still not that exciting, but a bit better than the UK one. Okay, so we are now on to the last book, which is one that I have read, and that's this one, Sky Day by Leonie Ross, which I think is also known as Propecio in other countries, so it might be that it's called Propecio where you are. And this is published by Faber and Faber. It says, dawn breaks across the archipelago of Propecio. The world is stirring awake again, each resident with their own list of things to do. A wedding feast to conjure and cook, an infidelity to investigate, a lost soul is to set free. As the sun rises, two star-crossed lovers try to find their way back to one another across this single day. When night falls, all have been given a gift and many are no longer the same. The sky is pink and some wonder if it will ever be blue again. Now, I've read this book and I didn't really love it. I don't... like, what a way to end this. Me talking about a book I didn't really enjoy. I bought the book thinking, I read the back. The back sounds amazing. The blurb's amazing, and thought, oh God, I'm absolutely going to love that. And then started reading it, read about 3 chapters, and then this was last year. Then Christmas happened, and I was like, I'm not going to get a chance to read this. So I thought I'll listen to the audio of it this year. The audiobook is well narrated, but for me, it just all got a bit mad. It's like, this isn't a spoiler, but at one point, everyone's vagina falls out. And it was just a bit much. I really enjoyed like the sort of like superpower side of things, because it's set on this archipelago, this island. Archipelago, that's a lovely word to say, isn't it? Where people are given a core, so people are born with a core as a sort of special power. Some of them are quite sort of subtle and like everyone's got a unique one. Some might be that you just have a third nipple, but some people can sort of like flavour food through their hands, or enhance the colour of things, or tell the age when someone's going to die and what they might be dying of. And I love that aspect of it. But yeah, the more it got into it, the less it sort of started at a sort of 4-star for me, and as it just went on, it just got less and less. But I know I may well be in the minority, and other people have very much enjoyed this, so hopefully other people will enjoy that. Let me have a look and see what else there are. Charlotte says there's lots of ghosts on the list this year. Longfront said apparently the sentence also includes a list of books Louise Erdrich likes as well. Love browsing a list of book recommendations. Yeah, I do. I've just finished a book that does that. Yvette Goodrich says, yay, one I've heard of and read. Wrong Geometry says, I'm reading this one, Sky Day, at the moment. Not far in, but enjoying the whimsy. Kate says, this one, Sky Day, is high up on my list to read. It sounds amazing. Jessica Penhallow says, love the sound of bread the devil needs, and that would be a great book club book. Wrong Geometry says, I thought the marketing for it was a bit off. I didn't realise it was magical realism. Joey Linehart says, I'm really excited to read several of these. Thanks for the conversation. Charlotte said, I also didn't get on with this one, Sky Day, when I read it last year. I found it unnecessarily confusing. Jellicle says it's magical realism, so you may or may not like that, and it's very heavy in the Jamaican vernacular, so it takes turn to get into the swing of it. But I love the lush liveliness to it. Yeah, I've got to say, I listened to the audio of it, and the like hearing them speak sort of in their accent was lovely, and like you get really sort of swept away in it. But yeah, it just sort of went down for me. So Alex said, I'm reading it in the Mo. Eek, I hope it doesn't take a turn. Had to do a quick moot before your spoiler. Sorry. And Homegrown Education said, the one that I've read, and the only one that I've read and I wasn't a fan. So yeah, there we go. 16 books. I'll just read through the titles again. Build Your House Around My Body by Violet Cooper-Smith. Careless by Kirsty Capes. Creatures of Passage by Marowa Yadij. Flamingo by Rachel Elliott. Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. Remote Sympathy by Catherine Chijay. Salt Lick by Lulu Allison. Sorrow and Bliss by Meg Mason. The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. The Bread the Devil Need by Lisa Allen Agostini. The Exhibitionist by Charlotte Mendelsohn. The Final Revival of Opal and Nev by Dawnie Walton. The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. The Sentence by Louise Erdrich. And This One Sky Day by Leonie Ross. Let's have a look. So just see if there's any more things, because we've almost been here an hour, guys. So we'll just see if there's any more questions and then we'll wrap it up. Jamie says, is there any books you're disappointed didn't make the long list this year? Well, in some ways, no, because this means that there's even more books that I hadn't heard of that I've got to read. I really thought that Love Marriage by Monica Ali was going to be on there, so I'm surprised that hasn't made it. Am I sad about it? I also was very much looking forward to reading Once There Were Wolves by Charlotte McConaughey, and I thought, I'll pick that up tonight. I've got it already. So yeah, I was surprised that wasn't on there as well. So yeah, maybe not disappointed. Let me have a look at my list again. Oh, I am. Yeah, there are a few, because I really loved Fault Lines by Emily Atami. So I was really hoping that was going to be on there. So I'm a bit disappointed that isn't on there. It's more sort of surprised that To Paradise and the Sally Rooney aren't on there. Pauline said, I love this conversation. Thank you. Made me want to read more of the listed books. Amazing. Alex said, what are you most excited to read so far? So I've put little dots next to the ones I'm most excited to read. Creatures of Passage, Great Circle, The Bread the Devil Need, The Island of Missing Trees, and there was one more, wasn't there, that I was excited about? Creatures of Passage, Great Circle, The Bread the Devil Need, The Exhibitionist, and The Island of Missing Trees. I'm also feel excited by The Sentence as well, though. So yeah, that sounds good. I thought Intimacies by Katie Kitamura would be on the list. Yeah, I saw a lot of people say that they thought that. I'm sad for Sarah Widman and Monica Ali. I would have loved to have seen Marion Keyes recognised. Yeah, I thought Marion, just because of the appearance of a Dawn French book last year, I thought maybe that would be on there, but alas, I was convinced Still Life would be on there, as everyone seems to rave about it. Yeah, I thought Still Life was going to be on there, and then I crossed it off and replaced it with Keisha the Sket by Jade L.B., which I wasn't even sure would qualify, because it's got some essays in there as well as fiction. But yeah, I think a lot of people thought Still Life would be there. So there we go. I don't know how I feel about it yet, because, Fortune Men by Nadifa Mohammed. I saw a lot of people say that as well. So yeah, I'm excited to see what I pick up first. I guess it's what either comes in at the library first or what I can get an audio. I'm in the middle of listening to a really long audio, well, the Marion Keyes audio book, and I've got about 12 hours left, so I can't stop that now. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you so much for everybody who joined along for this. As I mentioned, if you are a member of my Patreon book club, the book in April that we're going to be reading is one of the books from the long list. I haven't decided what yet, but it will be one that is available in wherever you are, because we have a lot of people sort of all over the world. But yeah, so that the poll for that will be going up either this evening or tomorrow morning, so keep an eye out for that. If you would like to join the Patreon book club, even just for April, to read one of these books and have a chat about it, we do it very much the way that this has happened, where I read out people's comments and things like that. Then you can just go onto the Patreon link that's below. I'll say all of my videos, not this video, but like patreon.com/Lauren in the Books, and it's the $5 tier. And yeah, we'd love to have you. So even if you just wanted to join for April, you could join anytime this month, and you'd get March free as well. You just need to make sure that you're still around in April to do that. So yeah, if you want to do that, please do. I haven't decided what the 2 books are going to be. It's exciting, isn't it? So yeah, thank you so much. Let's have a look. I can't wait to see your reviews. I'm shocked by the list, but also very excited for the different genres. I feel like Sorrow and Bliss is in the same realm as Marion Keyes. Thank you. Well, that's good news. Yvette says, thanks, Lauren, great chat. Really excited to hear what you think of the books. Thank you. It seems to be leaning more towards commercial than literary this year. Thanks, Lauren. Love this live show. Really looking forward to your wrap-ups. Thanks, Lauren. So lovely to chat with you all. Thanks. Raided the library and got 4 titles. Amazing. Right, okay. enjoy your evening. I'm going to see what I can get my hands on at the library, what I need to order, what I can get my audiobook of. And yeah, let's see how we get on with all of them, shall we? Thanks for joining me. Bye.